Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect. I'm Julie Chanel, and with my co-founder, Cathy Olson, we're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Gorgeous Effect. I'm Julie. I'm here with my business partner, Cathy, and today we're talking about future-proofing our kids in the age of AI. I'm curious, this is a little bit of a sort of side quest from what we normally talk about. So where did this idea come from?
You started training your kids to help out, which I feel like we've kind of done a little bit in the past, but obviously this was before AI, and they've gone to events and stuff. My kids have gone to events that we've done, Marketer's Heart and stuff. And so they kind of know a little bit about the digital marketing world, but not a ton. And they seem to understand graphic design more than anything else. And so they're like, oh, so they just tell people that I'm a graphic designer. But so I'm just wondering, I do see ads and stuff for this. And both of my kids are very anti-AI, which I'm like, man, I feel like they shouldn't be. But at the same time, then at least there's some checks and balance system there. If we're all like pro AI, at least they have like a healthy dose of mistrust. But what should, my oldest is 15. She's like starting to think about what she's going to do in the future. So and going to college, and I'm like, is she even going to go to college? Is that a waste of time? I'm just like, I think this is me kind of my issue, but
so you're worried about it too.
I'm worried about it, but I've heard people talking about it. And so I was thinking and I know, we don't have it all figured out. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen. But I was just thinking, if someone in DI were to come to you and say, what should my kids be learning? Like they want to learn something. They're kind of interested in this world. Where should I start? What would you say?
That's an interesting question. I feel like in some ways my advice has changed, and in other ways it hasn't. I think I'll address the college question first. A lot of people are like, is college a thing? And unless your child is wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that requires a certification or accreditation of that kind, I do not think college is necessary anymore. And I even think that in the next 20, 30 years, maybe that'll change. It'll change what the requirements are to be that type of person. If your kid's like, I want to be a doctor, mom, well, yeah, send them to college. But if they don't know what they want to do, or they want to do something that does not truly require a degree, I think that sending them into a path of entrepreneurship and building skills is a far better use of time and money for graduates. Now, my children are Gen Z. The older ones are. And I feel really bad for them because they were raised in the traditional world, and then they graduated high school. And I was like, yeah, the whole world's changing, and everything you thought was the way it was is not going to be. And I don't know that I have a good answer, except that I think that if your kids hate AI, it's a little bit of a problem, because there's no way they're going to avoid it in the work world, unless they want to be, a sheep farmer, or they want to do, agriculture, or, they want to go into something like that. They're going to run into it one way or another. So I get the checks and balances thing, but I think most of my advice is going to be more AI forward than not.
Yeah, you made me realize I should clarify on what they hate about AI, because they don't just hate it for no reason, just like everything having to do with AI. Although Maisie is definitely like, did you get that answer from AI? Like immediately, or I'm like, no, I Googled it, and then she's okay with it, like for some reason.
Except now Google is AI. Google is AI.
She doesn't, well, let's not tell her that. But she like doesn't trust the answer because she knows AI hallucinates. And she's 12 for context. But I think their fundamental problem is with creativity. Both my girls are very artistic, and so they don't like AI in creative spaces. They don't want to see AI videos. They don't want to see AI generated images. They don't want to read AI generated, prose, right? Like that, like they don't want anything that a human could do creatively. They don't want it to be replaced by robots. So that's specifically their problem. Because Avon is using ChatGPT and stuff to ask questions, basically like as a Google, also. And she's fine with that. But she does know with a healthy dose of like, is this true or not? Because she knows it hallucinates. She does understand that. So I don't think it's that they're fundamentally like everything AI sucks. But I think taking over humans is their
Yeah.
is their issue, which is like it's true, and we're worried about that too. Don't get us wrong, like right, like we're worried about what that looks like in the future. But I agree with you. I think if they ignore it too much and they try to stay away from it too much, then they are going to be left behind.
They're going to be behind. Well, my kids are artistic. I have a writer, a singer, and an artist. No athletic genes came through
Same,
this body. Okay.
same.
And Evan, my oldest son wants to be a writer, and like I can't think of a harder, worse opportunity. But I do think right now he's anti-AI as well. I think it's in part similar reason for your girls is like, hey, you're taking away my craft. You're taking away the good thing I'm good at. You're generating all this AI slop. But if he doesn't use or learn how to use AI for his own speed, he's going to get left behind because all these other authors are going to be able to outpace him. And he has to really, I'm not saying AI has to write for you, but there's a lot of other things AI can do besides actually write the words. And I think that's probably the nuance that our kids are missing. Ellie, who's my middle child, she's a singer, she's artistic, but she wants to go to school. She wants to be a therapist. And so college is a natural track for her. However, in looking for a job, I'm like, yeah, you could go into food service, be a waiter or whatever, but why don't you work in a skill set that might actually help you, even if, whether you decide to be a therapist or not, like it cannot hurt to learn marketing automation. She has a natural knack for it. I think that did flow through the gene pool because she's picking it up ridiculously fast. And so I put her in customer support at Funnel Gorgeous because I'm like, if you can do this, and she was in Cloudflare on day 2 like it was no problem. I was like, man, if you, so I do still think that there's a lot of value in learning design, learning marketing, learning automations. Yes, AI is like chomping through it, but there's still a lot of strategy and there's still a lot of foundational things that I think those skills are very marketable. My youngest daughter, Eden, who's an artist, I also pulled her in. She said, I think I want to be a designer. I felt a little lost on what to tell her. I said, maybe go learn Figma, go to Udemy because she still needs to understand the foundations of design. She can look at AI and have it whip up a landing page and be like, okay, that looks good. But if she doesn't understand the foundations of design, she's going to be behind from all the other people who were traditionally trained. Right. And so I was like, go do Figma, go do Udemy, go take a design class. She's like, but I don't need Figma. I can just use Claude. I'm like, I know, so there was a little bit of back and forth with her. She also toyed with the idea of being a tattoo artist, but I think that is something that will eventually be taken over by AI very quickly with the robotics. So I don't think there will be artists for much, maybe in the next 10 years, I would say.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is kind of have them figure out what they want to do and then figure out how that ties into AI. Because even becoming a designer, if you're the puppet master and you're kind of running the AI tools, that cool, like whatever, it's like it's just different tools. It's like I learned graphic design at a very young age, and so I actually got a really cool like front row seat of pre-computer design. And
Yeah.
so I was doing layout stuff in junior high. So that was like early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was barely like computers were there, but they were kind of being used for page layout, but mostly not. And so we would still do old school layouts, like with images. We would actually put them on a piece of paper. They would get, they would take a picture of it and that was the layout. So I got a little bit of the precursor. And so it was funny when I look at Photoshop now and all these tools that are based, even photography, right? There's like a dodging and burning that that existed in the darkroom. Like I actually printed stuff in 5th grade. I was printing images in the darkroom. So I got to see where that came from I feel like that's happening now, like this kind of new renaissance of like where were the principles originally? Now we have new tools, we have new ways to use it, but what was the original principles? How did it originally kind of come to be? So I
Yeah.
think those things, it's really interesting what you said about kind of learning those principles. The tools are going to change, but learning the principles are still there. I think that's a really good
Yeah.
point. And I also think what you said about just selling to humans, learning marketing, learning how to say things, learning how to communicate is never going to go out of style, at least not for any time soon. And it does
Right.
remind me of actually like wanting to teach Avon about social media marketing, like on social media, because they're already on Instagram, TikTok, they already in YouTube, they already understand like what a hook is, kind of that kind of stuff. So I think leaning on that as a skill is going to be really important for the future, like with creating any kind of
Yeah.
content and social media stuff. I think all kids should be learning that stuff.
I think there will be human only social media sites that pop up once the AI, content goes out. And I think, your kids and maybe my kids to some extent are resisting some of the AI generated accounts. And I don't blame them. There are some AI generated accounts that I like that are cute. There are others I'm just like, oh, it's a slop, just like anything. People ruin it and people, do good things with it. And I think as time goes on, there'll be more of like a delineation and there'll be like, human only communities and then probably AI only communities, right? And it'll start to diverge. But the tech people are the primary megaphones in the AI world. And I think there was a pretty like doomerish like no one's going to be able to work, universal basic income. AI is going to take everything. What are we going to do? There's also, just this feeling of nihilism and meaninglessness that has kind of come up. And I think where I've landed with it is, I mean, don't get me wrong. AI is disrupting a lot, right? A lot of these tech companies are laying off. I just saw Wix announce that it was laying off 20% of its workforce. And our economy is propped up by tech, right? And so if tech starts to fail, we could see a serious economic downturn because of AI. But to make it sound like that only AI is going to run things, I think these guys are living in a little bit of a bubble. I think they are grossly overestimating a human's ability to like let AI change the world, And all you have to do is spend a few minutes with a bunch of people in tech support or few minutes with people on their computers and you will realize that we are a long ways away from an AI first world. They just feel it because all these developers, it was disrupting their industry first. And so they're like, oh, the sky is falling. And I think I felt that myself as I tumbled down the AI rabbit hole. I was like, oh crap, like everything's over. And it's not that I don't feel that sense, but there's a new sense in me that's like, yeah, it is going to be everywhere and it is going to be like electricity, but I think we're also still going to be there's going to be a lot of human input here. I think there's going to be more jobs, more issues, more like, I don't know. I just think the second and third order effects are less doomerish than I thought in the past.
Yeah, you reminded me of, I think it was Helen that sent that video. Did you watch that video where it said about the more jobs? It was like,
Yeah, the Jarvin, is it Jarvin's paradox, I think is what it is?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So do you remember exactly how it went? I feel like I'm gonna tell the
It's
story wrong.
basically it's saying, hey, in the past, remember when all of a sudden we had access to energy like coal and oil, and then we thought that meant it was going to reduce how much we used, and what ended up happening is it like doubled because now it was more available, so more got created. And it's
Yeah.
this paradox that happens when we think something's going to take out an industry, and then it actually just makes us all work more or do more.
Right. So it increases the demand for it. So the idea
Correct.
is instead of replacing it, like with whatever, like what you're replacing with electricity or whatever, it's like now the grids just are growing and growing and growing and we need more and more and more electricity, right? So it's like the jobs aren't going away, they're just getting shifted into more of like now that we can do things faster, there's just more of a demand to do things faster, right? It's
Yeah.
like now everything slows down and we don't need to do things done, we just get things done faster. So I think that's really cool. way of looking at it, and I obviously hope it goes that way. It does make me think of Brittany Long, who's doing this like I'm gonna make all the money now because like it's gonna be over soon, and she's living in this AI world. So if you guys haven't followed her
It's
account, she's like she's basically trying to stack as much money as she can now because she thinks that universal basic income is coming.
is coming, yeah. And I don't automatically say, oh, that's never going to happen. I just have found that living in that, oh my God, the sky's going to fall, doesn't really help me. And I'm literally staring
Especially
at
you.
3 emerging adults who need to find career paths. Otherwise, we're all going to be living together till they're 80. So I can't just sit here and be like, doesn't matter, don't do anything, because then nobody's going to get out of bed. I have to like do something. But if I were to look at a parent today with a child that's going to be graduating soon, I would say whatever you can teach them, whatever you can mentor them in, whatever skill, if you have college money set aside and they're not going to do a job that requires a degree, invest that money in getting them a mentor that understood the world before AI existed. And I think that that is something that I can say to all the millennials and the Gen Xers and the boomers, like, all of these generations are going to die. And then we will only have a world that knows AI. And we have a limited amount of time on this earth to give the experience and the wisdom that we learned before this new
Right.
species entered the world. So do not sit on your laurels. Like, go mentor people, go create an apprenticeship, go teach, whatever it is. Like, I think about my mentor, Tammy, who raises sheep. She's in her late 50s or whatever, and she's teaching kids about wool dyeing and fiber. Like, those things are all going to go away.
Yeah, like
They're going to go
lost arts.
extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that would be my, like, spend your college fund getting quirky mentors for your kids to learn skills that
Mm.
can pass on. And don't ignore AI because it's just going to be there. So you got to also deal with that reality too.
I like your approach too of making it a win-win and actually having them help you with your business, literally, too, because they're going to immediately learn it from you. You're mentoring them, but you're also like getting help because, and actually, having them have a job, you know what I'm saying? Like giving them money for that too. So if you can do both things simultaneously, heck yeah. I'm here for that for sure.
Yeah. And even skills that AI is taking, like you talked about your design skill. So I use the example of Tammy, and it's like wool dyeing and fiber and stuff. Like, that's obviously, like a vintage skill, like shoemaking in the olden days. Right. But if you look at a skill like you have, it's a design skill. You are always going to understand design differently, having learned without AI's help versus learning with AI's help. And while someone up and coming may produce faster than you do because they have these tools on hand, there's something that you can give to the world that cannot be replicated now that AI exists. And I just don't think people realize that if you are whatever age, I think it's like age 30 or over, you are now rare. Because every generation coming up is only going to know the world with AI.
Yeah. And these are things we should be teaching in the future too, right? In our business and beyond, is like, here's why these principles exist and understanding the mechanics be under the hood. And so we're going to be even, more informed, more strategic, right? Like using those things to our advantage as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it was a good topic. I mean, it was a little bit of a rabbit trail. I always say rabbit hole and bunny trail. I always mix those up, but I think it's good. I think it's relevant for everyone. Yeah. So, all right. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks as always for listening. If there's a topic you want us to cover, just hit us up on Instagram at Funnel Gorgeous, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, gorgeous. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're thinking, okay, but what now? We've got you. So just for listening today, we want to give you a gift. Head over to learngorgeous.com. We're going to grab some free resources, free trainings, this month's specials, and everything you need to keep going. Until next time, make it gorgeous.